Steve Jewin, MMA Mania.
Okay, Mike, you're on with Steve.
Hey, Mike, it's good to talk to you today. Thanks for making a little time.
You got it. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Absolutely. And I want to tell you right off the bat, I was at your fight in June in St. Louis, and that reaction was one of the loudest I've ever heard at a Bellator show. You really were the crowd favorite that night.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I fully anticipate doing the same thing here in a couple weeks. So St. Louis is an amazing place to fight, so I'm excited to do it.
As I understand it, because a friend of mine is from the area, he said you grew up around there, wrestled around there. You became a star right there in that St. Louis area.
Yeah, pretty much. And my second fight ever in MMA was under Scott Coker at the Strikeforce event there in St. Louis. So, it's all come full circle, and it's pretty interesting.
Well, it's funny you say everything's come full circle because David Rickles is your next opponent, and it's coming full circle because you faced him before.
Exactly, yeah. So, it's a rematch, obviously, and last time it went really well in my direction. But every single fight's different, and I'm treating it as such. So I've taken this fight very seriously, and I think I'm better than Dave Rickles in every area, every aspect of the sport. So it's just about going out there and proving it, and putting it on the line, and going out there and putting on a show for the St. Louis fans.
Absolutely. But you said every fight is different, and I'm sure you don't expect this one to end in 44 seconds. So how do you see it going this time? What do you think he's improved on the most?
I do expect it to end in 44 seconds, or I hope it does. But let's be honest, it's not an easy feat, especially with a tough guy like Dave Rickles. I keep saying he's the kind of guy that you have to finish him like that. You have to punch him on the button, knock him out, or put the ref in a situation where the ref has to stop the fight, for Dave Rickles to stop fighting. He's just a tough, hard-nosed guy who keeps coming and keeps coming and keeps coming. So you keep the pressure on him, and he talked about putting so much pressure on me that I'm going to break. And if you try to get into a cardio battle or a battle of wills with me, you're in for a long night, because he hasn't been through what I've been through. That's for darn sure. He hasn't been through the fights and the gut checks that I've been through over the last couple of years. So I'm excited to go out there and prove that. My hat's off to him for thinking he can beat me. But it's just not going to happen.
Well, you mentioned those gut checks, and that was something I wanted to ask you about, because I don't think any fighter in Bellator has had quite the heartbreak you've had, going 2 5-round fights and a 4-round fight, all with a title on the line, and in 2 cases getting a split decision and in 1 losing it late. Just sports reporters and fans in general thought Chandler's going to get the belt back this time, and it kept not happening. So what was it like for you going through that? Yeah,
it's tough, and it's, the first the second Alvarez fight, I joke like he knew that he lost that fight. His coach knew that he lost that fight. And then whenever his name got announced, he was the most surprised guy in the building. Not the most ticked off guy in the building, but the most surprised guy in the building. It's just one of those things. It's the fight game. You got to roll with it. You got to roll with the punches. You gotta, embrace the suck, if you will. There's bad things that are going to happen, and, you just go with it, and, you just know that your best days and your blessed days are out ahead of you, and, you just keep moving forward. And that's kind of pretty much what I've tried to do here in this sport, and I'm going to continue to do that, to the last day.
All right, well, you did embrace the suck there for a little while. Things kept going to a split decision or not going your way, but with that fight in June, it seemed like things are finally turning the corner for you. So do you think maybe a couple of fights you'll be back to getting another title shot?
I would imagine. I mean, I think there's no doubt I'm the best guy for the job, going out there and winning that title back. There's no doubt about that. So, all I got to do is it's all about just time. It's all about, remaining steadfast and immovable, staying constant and just training hard and just trying to enjoy the ride back to the title. Nobody said it was going to be easy, so you just enjoy it. And if it's one fight, if it's after this fight, I get the title shot, or if it's 1 fight, 5 fights, 10 fights, I got to embrace it, got to enjoy it, and got to just, keep moving forward.
I talked to a pro wrestler named Diamond Dallas Page within the last year or two, and he brought up your name, which kind of caught me by surprise during the middle of the interview. He's like, yeah, I love that guy. He's the best guy in Bellator today. Not that I disagreed with him at all, but I just wondered if you have a personal relationship with him and what you can tell me about that.
I do. DDP is a good friend of mine. Obviously, when I was growing up, he was my favorite wrestler. Middle school, and how did it happen? I forget how it happened. Oh no, it happened. We were on Boss Rutan and Kenny Rice's show, Inside MMA, I believe it is called.
Yes.
And we were both on it. He was the special guest of the night, and it was me and Nick Diaz were the fighters, and he was talking about his DDP yoga. He was living in LA, and he's like, hey man, I'd love to come down. And I was like, man, I'd love to try your stuff. It's cool. He showed some stuff, and he's got a really cool DDP yoga system, and it's it ain't your mama's yoga. It's not it's stretching, but it's a lot about that isometric holds, and it's he put a heart rate on me. I got my heart rate up to 140, 150, just doing his very minimal movement, but very intense kind of DDP yoga. So work on flexibility, work on strength, work on turning back the hands of time, he calls it. And I'm like, yeah, man, let's do it. He came down, we hung out, worked out a couple days. And then since then he's came to a couple of my fights and can come to the back, and he's an overall great dude. I admire him for what he's done, and he's kind of like one of those older mentor type of guys for me.
Yeah, and he's done some miraculous work with guys like Jake Roberts and Scott Hall too, bring them back from the brink of darkness and despair, because he's such a positive person. It's not just the yoga with him, it's the positivity and the energy he brings.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. And the more people you can be around that are like that, the better off you're going to be. So you find as many people like that as you can, you hang out with them, and before you know it, you're acting like them, and you're in a lot better place than you were before.
So who are the positive people in your training camp that give you that energy?
First and foremost, my wife. She's my constant. She's my rock, especially when, bad things are happening. The loss streak. I don't know if I would have been able to make it through like I have without her and without her support. And then, for me, it's always about, the MMA game is the MMA game, and you have your coaches and you have your great, you have your great boxing coach and your great grappling coach, your great wrestling coach, head coach, your great training partners. But for me, it's about finding a mentor, find a mentor and an accountability partner, a person that if you're straying off the straight and narrow, they're gonna show you tough love and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Hey, this is the way you should be doing this. Hey, this is how business is done. This is how this is done. And I have a guy named Chris Patterson who is he's a best friend. He's like a mentor. He's like a business partner, a business mentor. The guy is an absolute genius. And I always talk about surrounding yourself with people who have what you want to have, and not in an envious way, but in an inspirational, motivational type of way. He has what I want to have. I want to be, a successful entrepreneur like him who has built a business from the ground up. I want to be a great father and a great husband like he is, and a great guy who pours into the younger generation like he's doing for me. So, he's a desirable guy, and I have those kinds of guys in my life. As well as Neil Melanson, who's been my grappling coach since day one, and very much responsible, for all the submissions that I've, finished fights with in the last couple of years. So yeah, just surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, better than you, more motivated than you, with higher goals than you, and somehow, some way you're going to end up at their level if you continue to stay steadfast and immovable.
Sounds like a good plan of action. I think everybody should follow that advice. But you mentioned all your submissions, and you've had quite a few remarkable ones in Bellator that have been fun to watch. But I always like to know, from a fighter's perspective, is it more fun to get the tap out, or is it more fun to get the knockout?
Man, I tell you what, it isn't about fun. It's about finishing that dang fight. Because what people don't realize is people take it for granted. They think if fans see a guy going in there like, oh, it's just another fight for him. It's just another day at the office. This should be an easy work, or, he should know how to fight by now, blah, blah, blah. When really there's a lot of pressure, a lot of preparation, a lot of build up a lot of stuff that you got to deal with. And once that fight is over, once the ref pushes you away after a knockout or pulls you off of him, when you got your arms wrapped around his neck, it's the most amazing feeling, that you can experience in the cage, because finally all the pressure is gone. You have accomplished what you set out to accomplish, no matter what. I know for sure, 110% positive I'm going to beat Dave Rickles on November 6th. But that doesn't stop my mind from wandering and, oh my gosh, what if he knocks me out? Oh my gosh, what if he catches me in a stupid submission? Oh my gosh, what if I lay an egg in front of the St. Louis crowd? You have those self-limiting beliefs sometimes and self-limiting thoughts that you have to deal with, just like everybody does. Everybody has doubts about everything. So you're dealing with all that junk, and then all of that is put to rest as soon as the ref pulls you off. And so as long as the fight ends, it's elation and it's bliss. So, I know the fans like a knockout better, so I'll go with knockout, but I'd say they're pretty much 50-50.
Yeah, just getting the pressure off. I understand. Any win is a good win. Even if you go all the way to the 15, or the 25, as long as you get that W.
Exactly, because I've been on the wrong, you and I both know I've been on the wrong side of it, so.
Yes, indeed. Now, speaking of pressure, Dave Rickles, when I talked to him this summer before he fought in Mulvaney, he told me it was his evil plan to face you again and to beat you in the rematch. So you talk about pressure. It seems like he's putting an awful lot of pressure on himself. Do you think that's going to make him crumble in the fight?
I think so, but I also think he's just a talker. I think any of us, let's be honest, if I got knocked out 44 seconds by anybody, that person would be part of my evil plan. You want to win. You want to get that one back. So for him, it's about, avenging that loss, and rightfully so. I want to avenge every single loss I have. We all do as fighters. So, I think he's taken this fight seriously. But I just don't think he's on the right track. He just doesn't have the skills to beat me, I believe. I think, that's just where I'm at with this whole thing, and I'm just excited to compete against him here in a couple weeks.
Yep, November 6th in St. Louis at Scott Trade Center. But one last question, and I know you got to run. You talked about him being a talker.
Oh, you're fine.
There's somebody else that's a talker too, and that's the current champion, the guy you fought a couple times already, Will Brooks. And he seems to be talking a lot about new guys coming into Bellator and old guys getting pushed aside. Do you feel that way yourself, or do you think he's just talking too much?
I think he's a nerd, and I think he's got that victim mentality. It's like, come on, man, you're the champion. Why are you worried? Why are you worried about these other guys coming in? It all just comes back to the oh, woe is me attitude that he has, and quite frankly, way too many people in the world have. Run your own race. Make yourself, distinguish yourself, make yourself desirable, do something with what you're doing outside of just the norm, and then you're going to be put in a situation where you're getting taken care of. And, it's not a bash at him. It's a bash at a lot of people who have that kind of mentality of, oh my gosh, I'm getting the short end of the stick here, and you see it a lot, and it's, quite frankly, it's sad. I lost 2 fights that you and I both know I shouldn't have lost, and 98% of the media and fans thought I won. But you didn't see me once come out and cry about it and this and that. You take life in stride. You do the best you can. You don't complain and pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just don't worry about everyone else. Worry about yourself. Run your own race. And I just think he's a nerd.
Well, I'll ask him if he feels that way, because I've got a scheduled chat with him next week. So if he does feel like a nerd, I'll find out. But in the meantime, he's got to worry about Marcin Held, because he's got to fight the same night as you, and he's got to defend that title.
He does, and Marcin Held has gotten better. When I fought him, he was just pretty much a leg lock guy, and he's definitely still a leg lock guy. He's still a leg lock guy, but he's gotten a lot better with his hands. And I'll be completely honest with you, with the knee bar that he caught me in, if Will Brooks gets caught in that, he will tap. Will Brooks has that tap gene in him. I don't. And I believe it'll be a good fight. I think Will's going to win it, to be honest with you. I respect Will as a competitor, not necessarily as a person, but as a competitor, and I respect his skill set. So, we'll see what happens. And either way, I'll be waiting back there in the locker room. Still sweating, still pumped up for my victorious performance over Dave Rickles, waiting to probably smack him.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you, is would there be some sort of confrontation?
No.
If you win and he wins,
No.
do you think they're going to put you two together in the cage?
I think so, but I'm just joking about my last statement. I got too much, I got too much self-control, too much respect for the sport to do that kind of junk, obviously. But, of course I joke about it, but, at the end of the day, man, I respect him, and I love what Bellator's doing. They're on the right path. If they want to put me and him next, they'll do it. If I got to fight 5 more fights, 10 more fights, I'll do that as well. So, I'm just excited to be in the position I'm in, excited to be where I'm at mentally, physically, spiritually, and I will be well and able, and hopefully you'll be out there November 6th, and I'll be choking Dave Rickles' neck.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to the fight, Scott Trade Center, St. Louis, November 6th. But before I let you go, Mike, is there anything you want to plug? Any sponsors you want to thank?
Yeah, as always, I want to thank Monster Energy Drink, Toyota of Escondido, American Ethanol, and my wife and my mom and dad and everybody who has stuck beside me throughout this whole career. Follow me on Twitter at Mike Chandler MMA and on Instagram at Mike Chandler MMA. And check out my new blog on michaelchandler.com called Iron Michael's Mind. And thank you for the time in the chat.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. It'll be a great article on MMA Mania, and best of luck in the fight on November 6th.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet.